Armenian newspaper Agos has published the full text of the letter Kurdish people's leader Abdullah Öcalan has recently written to the Armenian people. Öcalan called attention to the disruption of social relations between the ancient peoples of Mesopotamia and Anatolia in the last 3 centuries and remarked that these lands have turned to a symmetry of peoples and cultures because of the poison scattered by capitalist modernity and nation-states and their projects to create monolithic states, preparing an ideological substructure for a disaster, destroying peoples as well as dozens of languages and cultures. Öcalan remarked that wars and clashes throughout history have reached the utmost level today than ever, aiming at destroying humanity and nature. The Kurdish leader pointed out that the massacre project carried into effect against the Armenian people early last century was the most cruel of the dirty policies. Remarking that it was a great miracle that the Armenian people have survived until today in spite of the massacre and tragedy they faced, Öcalan said this has been achieved thanks to the efforts and struggle of the oppressed Armenian people. The whole world should face the historical reality of the Armenian people and share their pains and mourn for them. It is inevitable for the Turkish Republic to approach this issue from this point of view and to face the painful history. When looked from this point of view, we can say that we are giving a struggle for not only Kurdish people, but also for the freedom of all peoples of this ancient territory. Kurdish, Turkish, Arab, Persian, Armenian and other peoples must ensure a brotherhood grounded on equality before the law. The hostility created between peoples mustn't be accepted as a part of our own culture. We have to prevent this from being transferred to next generations, which can only be secured by a peace based on real justice. The process we initiated on the day of Newroz in 2013 can become permanent and meaningful only if advanced with this perception, Öcalan added. The Kurdish leader emphasized that Hrant Dink, the true friend of peoples and the brave son of the Armenian people, was murdered by the representatives of this dirty mentality and for the purpose I have mentioned above. He is the last Armenian killed for this purpose. Öcalan ended his letter by remembering Hrant Dink with respect and extending greetings to Armenian and all other peoples. Debate in the General Assembly on law known as Code of Publications on the Internet and Suppression of Crimes Committed by Means of Such Publication began Friday in Turkey. The law was originally enacted in May 2007 to curb access to YouTube videos and online pornography, but the Turkish government regularly hides behind this law and others like it to filter or block content it disfavors, including advocacy for Kurdish rights. Freedom of speech is already restricted in Turkey in many ways through bans, arrest of journalists, and alleged pressure by politicians. A report by a committee to protect journalists defines Turkey as the world's leading jailer of journalists in 2013. In the same year, Turkey ranked 154 out of 179 countries in the Press Freedom Index by Reporters Without Borders. On Saturday, January 18th, the protests against law number 5651 took to the streets in Istanbul, Ankara, Adana, Izmir, Bursa, Eskişehir, Mersin, Antalya and Bodrum. People protested and marched peacefully but were again met by the now routine violent response from Turkish police. The use of water cannons, tear gas, plastic bullets, pepper spray and violent arrests to suppress and disperse the protest. The independent press agency Bianet estimated that 110,000 websites were blocked in 2011, while Google reported Turkish requests to remove content from the web rose nearly 1,000% last year. A few of the currently banned websites in Turkey include Vimeo, SoundCloud, Pastebin and the recently banned Vegas TV, who published evidence of the Prime Minister's corruption and suspected and Prime Minister's phone speech with corruptors and bribery businessmen. Russian Foreign Minister Lavrov said that Kurds must become and join to Geneva II peace conference at first day of Geneva II. But Kurds delegation did not visit, and same day PYD co-chair Salih Müslim held a press meeting in Geneva in order to explain without Kurds no solution on Geneva II table. Kurdish People's Legislative, Executive and Supreme Councils acted as a whole body with other nations' people like Syriac and Arabs and declared their autonomies in West Kurdistan Rojava when, after 10 days, who left sides with a fulfilled disappointings in Geneva. A continuous week-long first round of Syrian peace talks ended on Friday with no progress towards ending the civil war and the government delegation unable to say whether it will return for the next round in 10 days. UN mediator Lakhdar Brahimi, who has tirelessly pursued a peace deal that other diplomats consider mission impossible, said the opposition delegation would be back on February 10, but President Bashar al-Assad's delegates had told him they would have to check with Damascus before agreeing to return. They didn't tell May that they are thinking of not coming. On the contrary, they said that they would come, but they needed to check with their capital, Brahimi told a news conference. Brahimi listed 10 simple points that he left the two sides agreed on in the talks and said he thought there was more common ground than their sides recognized. Even that the sides also failed to achieve more modest aims, like an agreement to allow aid convoys into Homs, Syria's third largest city, where thousands of civilians are trapped with no access to food or medicine. Emptiness. Everywhere you look. 7 kilometers no man's land separates Syria and Jordan. Hadler is an unofficial entry point in the Jordanian desert place. 100 of refugees across every day. It is the last leg of long journey to escape to war which has devastated their homeland. Soldiers and aid workers help to approaching people.
النساء الأطفال اللي ما بيقدروا يقطعوا هاي المسافة بنضطر احنا يعني نقدم على نوع من المخاطرة والمغامرة حتى نساعد هؤلاء الصابين الحق.
The conflict in Syria has reached almost 3 years now. Almost half of population displaced because of the war. After a long journey in the desert, they are thirsty. Aid workers and soldiers give them water.
الله بعث لنا اولاد حلال وصلونا خير والسلامه وكثر خير الشعب الاردني استقبلنا.
Army trucks arrive to move everyone away from border.
We've got a presence at the border. We're meeting them at the border. We're making sure that they've got food, they've got blankets. We're making sure that we're providing solidarity with the Jordanian armed forces who are picking them up and taking them to the nearest transit point.
On this day, nearly 100 people came across. From here, they go to the Zaha 3 refugee camp by army trucks.
We'll move you to Zatri as soon as possible with the Jordanians.
But getting to arrive here for saving lives has cost.
بدك $2000 $2000 يعني الواحد بيبيع صار داره او اغراض بيته.
ليش ضلك دار ما احترقت؟
ما ضلش، لا تتوجر بيته، لما يعني ببيع اولاده مشان انه يوصل لهون هو ومرته.
For these refugees, no choice, and these scenes repeated again and again.
بتيجي بموتوا 15 بالنهار بس من الجوع غير الضرب ما له عياقه.
No one knows how long it will repeat. According to a research center located in London, the number of Europeans in Syria increased from 400 to 1,937 within the last 2 years. It is reported that 412 of those Europeans are from France, 366 are from Britain, 296 from Belgium, 240 from Germany, and 152 of them are from the Netherlands. The research also indicates a rise in the number of people from West Balkan countries traveling to Syria in order to join the Islamist groups. According to the research, 150 Salafi insurgents from Bosnia and 140 from Kosovo, Croatia, Macedonia, Montenegro traveled to Syria. Western public is concerned about the increasing amount of European Muslims joining to fighting groups in Syria. The Europeans are using Hatay in Turkey as a transit point to take arms in Syria. The Independent published this week the allegations of Israel authorities about the existence of 3 al-Qaeda camps in Turkey. The newspaper added its comment that the jihadists gathering in the camps in Turkey were planning savage attacks in Europe. The Independent also reports that according to British authorities, many British citizens booked cheap flight tickets to Turkey in order to join the groups affiliated to Al-Qaeda. The newspaper also publishes an analysis about the topic in addition to its news. The analysis, undersigned by Anthony Lloyd, states that Turkey is allowing the jihadist groups to use Turkey as a transit country to enter Syria. Lloyd claims that Turkey purposely closed its eyes to this situation. There is also a remarkable increase in the number of Azerbaijani insurgents following Chechens in the ranks of the oppositions in Syria. On the other hand, the MIT strikes stopped at the Syrian border, which were carrying weapons, exposed the support of AKP government to Salafi groups affiliated to Al-Qaeda or ISIL. The Directory of Public Persecutors of Adana has launched an investigation on 19th of January about the trucks which were stopped in Adana on prosecutorial demand. The Directory accuses the ones who informed on the trucks and leaked the information to media for counter-espionage.